allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There's no public comment. We'll go right into your presentation.
Okay, we'll jump right into the finance presentation. It'll be a continuance of last month where we go over some RFP updates and then jump into the budget. So we're jumping to the first one here, which is our food service RFP. So we had the RFP opening on March 19th. We had 3 vendors submit proposals. The 3 vendors were Chartwell's, SFP, and Nets. We had an evaluation committee of 4 individuals, and the outcome of that was the evaluation committee will recommend Chartwell's, who's the current vendor, will show on May's agenda. May's agenda to be recommended for approval, and they'll have a presentation budget like we would normally have in the May timeframe. So that's what funnels into those next steps. We'll have the review on the 12th and presentation with the board to approve that in the May 19th timeframe. So right now I'm working with PDE to get that approved and have all the paperwork ready to go for then the board approval step.
Tom, who was on the evaluation committee?
The evaluation committee consisted of myself, Jen Dooley, Dr. Mitzel, and Mary Brennan.
Did anything change in our current contract with them and what they proposed?
No, a lot of the same programs they have. They have a, I should say, more positive outlook with our new high school kitchen that they can provide and opportunities there. Otherwise, elementary level, middle school level, until that transition happens, is going to be what current operations is going to happen. So they have an outlook of what they're proposing when that happens, when we have that new
Same
kitchen.
menus?
They submitted new menus, and that's something the committee evaluated and looked at. That's something to integrate. Some of that is when we get the new kitchen and new possibilities.
Was the decision unanimous with the evaluation committee?
Yes. So the criteria, we evaluated them on was cost, what's called a guarantee, so that if any company can guarantee they're going to be at a profit, at a 0 or a loss, and they get criteria on that. Years of experience, and then we had some criteria we based the individual vendors on, which was stability, financial stability of their company, their accounting processes, their personnel management processes, their quality control processes. There's another one I forget about, and they all had different weights. So each evaluator gave a different weight for different what they felt in that scale, but the overarching, they all received. Chartwell's had the most points across all 4 evaluators.
And how many years is this going to be for?
So every year, this is a 1-year contract with 4 renewals, so a total of 5 years. So right now, we renewed Chartwell's 4 times. We're at the end of that 5 years. Now we're forced to RFP. This will be the same thing. This will be year 1 of 5 if we choose to do 4 renewals. If at some point we were dissatisfied with Chartwell's, we would notify them and go back out to RFP, do this process again, and have 1 year with 4 renewals. So it's technically a 1-year contract. We get to just extend it 4 more times.
So this one, you mean updating equipment and a new cafeteria, is what I hear you saying, yeah. And then, okay, so that'll make it capable of making different menus.
Correct.
Different food.
Correct. So we anticipate having a pizza station, sandwich station, salad bar, 2 serving lines, some grab-and-go options. So that will be available more of a campus feel, college
I was just
campus.
gonna say,
That was what the thought behind it was. So until all that new equipment gets up and can be utilized, we're kind of at
Right.
what we have now.
Okay. Look forward to that change.
Any other questions then with RFP? So I'll have the evaluation results, like the grid and what everybody's points were when we go over the board approval, so everybody can see into athletics. So I had a meeting with Turf Track and Court last Friday, and the updated drawings are in front of each member. I have the highlights of what is being addressed in each of the sections. So baseball, where we're addressing is fencing as a whole. So at the bottom left-hand corner, you're looking at this little black line here is the ball control netting to stop any balls going on Newark Street. That fencing is looking to be about 40 foot to 50 foot high, depending on, I guess, the poles and cost of how high. The higher you go, the more cost. We're kind of seeing how high we need to go to control those with mitigation of cost. That's one of the big changes here. We're going to have a completely enclosed perimeter around baseball with fencing, so sideline fencing and outfield fencing, so it encompasses the whole field. That's a change from current. So that's a big fencing change there. The same thing with the dugouts. The dugouts will be encompassed with fencing, and they will can be secured and locked down after hours. The same thing with the backstop. The backstop is off to the top right hand of your plan. That is a visual of the backstop. It will have a slight overhang on there, and we provided some ball control in that fashion. It's taller than our current operations, and will have that little overhang plus the ball control netting on the side. Field will have upgraded drainage and resurface mostly the infield portion of play to kind of get the grading back up to the standard flow with the drainage. Like I said, dugouts are going to be upgraded because right now they're below grade. They're going to be brought up to grade and revamped. And then they're also going to have a lockable storage area and electrical outlets added to those functionality. If you can see the pathway there above behind home plate, that'll connect Newark Street to the field house there at the stadium to connect to the bathrooms and or concession stand. And then it also has an adjoining pathway to connect to the existing where the old football entrance used to be. If we want to make that a new baseball entrance, or if we want to use that in any capacity, it will connect pathways totally there on that side. Two things of note is the alt ads. So alt ads that are shown here is having a warning track. That was advised by Turf Track and Court to have on there as an alt ad if that's financially favorable outcome of the bids for safety reasons, and then also adding some permanent bleachers. So that's some passive bleachers. Right now we have 3 mini bleachers that can be transported in and out. With this change of pushing the baseball a little bit, the backstop back, that kind of scrunches that for maneuverability to be, so maybe we can add some bleachers there. So that's an alt ad as well. So when we go, so the baseball here, that was just informational. We will have Turf Track and Court come to the April 7th meeting to give an in-depth review of all these and be able to ask the technical questions. This is just to provide information here tonight to say, is there any glaring issues we see that I need to take back to Turf Track and Court so they can have it updated for the 7th?
So how much higher is the back, the proposed back stop to the one that's there now?
I can't speak to the amount of.
I mean, he's
people
gonna
that's-
take care of the problems, what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. We're not gonna,
So
think about
he
spending money.
advised us that it will not stop not 100% of all the balls, because that's just not, unless we put a netting across the whole thing.
Right.
He says with that slight overhang and going higher in the backstop, plus the additional netting along Newark Street, we will save almost all the balls that he can think of. Obviously, we can always add netting up if that's the problem with vertical, but pushing the backstop back and going higher and adding that really changes how those balls will be caught and stopped from going that direction.
You said the netting that we have, the proposed netting is approximately 40 feet high?
Yeah, anywhere from 40 to 50, he's kind of looking at that. Plus the backstop, I believe, is 22 foot high, which is higher than our current backstop now, and will have a slight.
Which will catch a lot of it anyway.
Yeah,
Yes.
more, yeah.
So we're doing those 2 dramatic changes to address those foul balls going that way. Something else we discussed maybe at a future time, we saw foul balls going into the stadium, but that this time we're not, it's infrequent enough to address that at the moment. If that's what happened, they become more frequent, we could add netting between the baseball and the stadium to stop those.
Do you know how far out the overhang is supposed to be?
Without confirming him, it looks like an 8 foot.
Yeah.
If my eyeballs can.
No,
see
at
that.
first I looked at it, I was like 5 foot, and I was like, no.
Is it short straight across, or is it?
No,
more
it
like-
has a
Slanted?
angle, yes. So it's straight up and then angles forward.
Because
He will have some visual pictures he showed us, of
Yeah.
some of the projects he's done.
That's a good question to bring up when he's here.
Some of the other things is the distance. You can see we're changing the the home run distance. So we have 325 third baseline, and 350 in the center, and just 310-ish on the first base. And the reason for that is to try to keep the light poles where they're at without disrupting any light poles, and that would drastically change balls if we move any light poles or lose the light poles.
And so the asphalt going up along the third base side, between the stadium seating, that'll go right up to the bathroom.
Yeah,
So
that'll go right.
that'll be open then.
Yeah.
You're gonna change the.
Yeah, because they're already open, and just there's no
Okay.
pathway for ADA compliance for
Okay.
people to get
Gotcha.
there, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
quite a grade. So we're gonna regrade that hill, make it a pathway for in the ADA.
It does not give you access to bathrooms.
Yeah, there are doorways on the back that people could use now. It's just a distance to walk there,
Right.
and if you're in a disabled or need accommodations, they cannot travel that far currently. They have to go the whole way around the outfield and get in, and that's not feasible for them. So this would create a nice paved pathway for them.
And so for the other pathway in the outfield then, past the track.
Yep.
That'll connect, or you have like a walkway from that parking lot into.
Yeah, so the
there.
parking lot, the existing parking lot across from Maple Avenue, and the old concession stand right now has blacktop that goes partial, and then it breaks and has grass. That would just continue that pathway across, and it'd be a continuous pathway. So the thought behind that would be if we ever wanted to use that as an entrance way, to say districts or something as a ticketing location, people could park there and then be able to walk down and have a nice pathway down to the stadium, or I should say the stadium at that far end.
Do they use our field now for districts?
One of the things is we don't have a scoreboard, so that disqualified us. We have the lights and we had the secure fencing around, which I think were some of the criteria. We did not have a scoreboard. Scoreboard would go back to where the old scoreboard was when the football stadium was there, the same location. Something else, we know currently people enter and exit from the bottom part of the field. That would be closed off and only be used for maintenance. The primary access would be there on Newark Street, or if we pushed them, would be across from Maple Avenue.
So again, do we get paid if they use our field?
That
Or
is,
districts or states?
It's a neutral site.
It's a new,
Like,
again, do we get paid though?
If we would be a neutral
If we would
site,
be a
like if
neutral
we're
site.
in districts, I don't know.
I think a lot of people
Portion
just,
of the-
yeah, they
of
would,
the-
you can charge costs.
It's not a
Yeah.
lot, but-
You just
It's not
basically-
much, yeah.
Something.
But we would get something.
Yeah, we get, you know, portion of the ticket.
But, I mean, another thing is we're, I think, one of two in the league baseball fields that have lights. And I don't know if you've heard with the umpire shortage that there's been JV games canceled and stuff like that. So if we had looked into the opportunity to possibly host some neutral site, just regular games under the lights at our field, potentially charge over school districts for that if the opportunity presented itself.
So,
They're gonna pay it somewhere.
Well, what do we do about the scoreboard thing?
so the scoreboard, we're pulling all the scoreboards. We had 3 scoreboards up, would be baseball, softball, and the stadium. We're pulling that out of this bid, and we're gonna do that as a standalone. We'll go through what we want in scoreboards for each location after we figure out what's in the design, not in the design, because that's not part of turf track. That's something the district can decide without. Any glaring issues with baseball? If not, this is what we'll proceed with for Monday's presentation.
He's gonna provide numbers then too?
I think it's based off of this is what we're going to be going forward with. He's gonna provide all those questions that says, this is what we're gonna go out to bid for, or he's gonna build the bid package for it, go out to bid, and then provide numbers give us a, I guess, a range
When
when we go to bid.
When will- yeah, that'll be April seventh, when he'll have those numbers, the range of numbers?
No, this will just be presentation of what's in the project.
It's concept, right?
What's not in the project, to then go, have the bid documents created, and then he'll be able to say we change something, say we wanted a higher backstop, that would change his numbers. He wants to solidify what is
So
100%
we
moving
would have to do
forward.
Well, when do we decide if we want the warning track or anything like that?
That'll be an alt add, if we want to cut that out of the project and just say it's not, regardless of cost, if the costs are favorable, just, then we don't want it, we just tell we don't want it.
When would we discuss that?
If it you want it off the alt ad list, that would be something you want to discuss on April seventh.
April 7th.
If it's an alt ad you're willing to keep, that would be a bid day discussion that says, do we want to keep that in the project or not?
Does an alt ad require us to have it?
No. This is a nicety that says we,
He'll give us a price.
yeah, the vendors will give us a price that says it's an extra amount of money to do a warning track, and the district can decide that's something they're willing to pay.
Yeah, got it.
If not, it's not part of the project. Same thing with the bleachers. We can keep our current bleachers, but if we want upgraded, permanent bleachers, that's something the district can decide to pay for.
How much work are they actually doing to the infield outfield?
So right now, it's just a regrade, the infield portion, so basically from the bases down. The outfield minus like the fencing would not be touched, or would be touched in a minimal fashion. So obviously the fencing around the perimeter, the pitcher's mound,
So they
the
are
home
going to
plate,
the pitcher's mouth.
yeah, they're gonna address that grading, so some of it has to be grading of how, they're addressing that. He did mention it, I'm not a technical person on it, but he had some more grading he's gonna address between the pitcher's mound and the home plate, keep it to regulation.
Any other questions?
So we'll then jump right ahead to softball. So softball is very similar, the exact same layout for backstop, the exact same layout for dugouts. The only difference would be that softball would be completely rate oriented. If you look at your paper here, you can kind of see some boxes and some X's, really faint gray. That is where the existing softball fence or field is at currently. You can kind of see where home plate is at in relation to where we're pivoting softball. So if you see this X here, that's the batting cage. Here's the seating, so that's kind of where the softball field is currently. Superimposed on top would be the same thing. So we're reorienting softball field. The addition would be parking below the field would be here for softball. We did have a discussion of moving the batting cage. The batting cage is going to be moved off diagonal between the parking and first base rather than against the parking. So it's going to be kind of a diagonal between that gap there.
And is there gonna be like any netting on the first base side?
No, this would just be, right now, it's just the.
Just the batting
Just the backstop, the fencing, the sideline fencing. So the sideline fencing goes from backstop at 22 feet down to, I believe, 8 foot, down to third base, and then drops down to 4 foot out to the outfield fence. And then outfield fence, I believe, drops up to 6 foot in the outfield.
Is that pretty consistent with what we have now?
Right now, we just have the backstop there.
Just that.
Yeah, so this would encase the entire field in fencing. But no, there would be no barrier besides the backstop. So we did have that discussion. That's something, if we want to add netting, we can. Some of the discussion will be enter at your own risk signage that says you're parking by a softball field and you're in foul ball territory.
Could that be on all that just to see what the pricing of it would be?
So the beauty about alt ads is you can add as many as you want and you can select from them, but obviously it's a cost to design that if we keep adding. So we try to keep them to the most realistic alt ads or the most feasible alt ads. It's the same thing we did with the project. We could have had sky's the limit to what we wanted to add, but we kept it to the most. So from turf track and courts perspective, the warning track was something that he promoted strongly in a sense for safety purposes. We internally wanted to do the seating.
Don't we have some out there now?
They get moved to the stadium.
They get moved to the
Yeah.
stadium. Oh, they're the visitors sections? Okay.
So that's something to look at. Something else with the parking, we would have a cement pad in the far corner beside the 2 handicap spots for a portable bathroom to be placed right beside the 2 handicap spots. And then a pathway to connect. Right now it's showing connecting to existing walking track around, or the exterior of the track. So it'll take that parking, so if somebody want to park down there and get to the track, they could, to make it more functional.
Any other questions, any thoughts?
I'm just curious, what is the running track mean?
He said it's what did he say? It was some type of gravel material. It's going to be the same material that they're going to use for the batting cage as well. So baseball and softball would get a edging of that around for, so we don't have to weed whack and mow around the batting cages anymore. Right. Wear and tear down.
Yeah, yeah.
So that warning track material would be used in the batting cages. Around the batting cages is edging.
That's smart.
Is it like in the ground and level with the ground?
The batting
The
cage.
warning track.
The warning track is level with the ground.
It just like changes from grass to that,
So you
so
can
that
see,
they know that
you
it's.
can judge.
Fence is
what's
coming
your
really
fence,
fast.
yeah.
Because like on baseball here, the fence, where it juts in, the foul line ends up really close to the fence in the outfield. So an outfielder going towards that, I've seen a lot hit a fence because they don't know it's coming.
So that's something we can look at from a safety perspective.
We should know why you would have a warning fence. Or track, I mean. Track, I mean.
Yeah, it's been fun hitting those.
So I guess any glaring issues with softball? I said it's very, very similar to baseball. Try to keep them, they will look the same, they would feel the same, regardless of what. Okay. I will let him know, and he will present that, like I said, on April 7th. So then the next RFP that we have talked about was transportation. This is just a summary. We will have the official document on the work session. If you want to read all the language we have in the document, that will be provided on the work session for review. So here's some major highlights on our summary. We're looking at a 5-year term, so start 25-26 to 29-2030. This would only address regular education and our athletics. We still have current contracts with special education and non-pub, which end in 2027-2026, and they're currently with Lincoln Coach Lines. We could look to combine all those services at the end of all the contracts for 30-31 school year. So we would have one vendor that would support us. The district doesn't want to happen. Potentially have it, I guess, have it separate. So I separate these into the 2 major buckets. We have contractor requirements, and then we have some LASD, or what we want to keep here as a district. So contractor, we're going to install our cameras and our radios. We just purchased those nice cameras. We want the contractor to use those because that functions with our software. And we're able to use that video and see those. I'll see the same thing with radios. We have the repeater here and the functionality, so we want them to use our existing radios. The contractor would then also be required to keep buses 6 years or newer, which aligns with the reimbursement schedule from the state. And the same thing with vans 10 years or newer for maximum reimbursement capabilities. And if they would go outside that, they can, but they would have to seek our approval to get an exemption from that 6-year or 10-year requirement. Something else is we're going to have them use our lot. We have the nice lot there at transportation. So we would have the vendor use that same lot and have it as a staging area to have all their buses and vans in our lot. They also have the right, since they're on the lot, to use our transportation building. So our bathroom, our break room, there would be some type of vandalism. They could use our security cameras that are on site, and et cetera. Anything that's available within that perimeter, they would be eligible to use. And they would also, we would also request that the contractors give any existing or current LASD employees the right of first refusal on any positions sound perspective, we would want to keep the authority over creating and maintaining bus routing. So that's kind of goes in conjunction with our cameras, because our camera goes in with our routing system. And we also then can create the routes that benefit our students rather than maximizing the benefits for the contract. The same thought pattern is over fuel. We have the diesel storage on site. We just upgraded for compliance. We currently have vendors use our diesel, and they give us credit back on the invoices. We look to do the same thing. Right now, we have gasoline cards on our corporate sheets account. That's tax exempt. We would let them use that, so then we would not have to recover tax on that portion. So then we look to have those set up, and they would provide us with receipts and reimburse us back the same fashion that we would do with diesel, so that we would have the gasoline under our rates, or gas and diesel under our rates, and the same thing with routing. And then we're looking to pool the fleet, the sale of any of the fleet. So if this would go through, we would obviously have buses and vans we would look to offload. We would do that separately. I think from analysis, we believe that's the most beneficial option from a district perspective, to sell that as a standalone item rather than within the RFP. So we want RFP for services, and then we'll sell the fleet in its own.
To them?
They could, but we would want to do the RFP and then a
Right.
standalone bid to
Right.
offload those. I think when we looked at that, it's probably the most financially beneficial outcome for the district.
buses marketable?
Well, that'll be something we'll have to exercise, we're gonna have to go through. But that's gonna be something we could ask some vendors that potentially look and say, are these of interest to you? If they say, not a chance, we can look at other avenues if we wanna do auctions, if we wanna just scrap them. I mean, we have some options. We would look to try to see if somebody would buy the entire fleet as a whole, rather than just do one and one, so like an entire lot.
I'll say what, get one of you, get your tech students to turn one of those things into an RV, and I might be interested in one. Yeah, man, right, that's right. That's right, we bought a ship from him back in the day, we'll buy an RV from him.
That's
Yeah.
new marketing possibilities.
Yeah, right.
So we are looking to still, we are looking to keep at least 2 buses, and I believe 4 vehicles. I think 2 vans, we got the minivan, I should say, and the drivers, what we call the driver's ed vehicle here internally. We would look to keep those 4 and then 2 buses, at least for a couple years, to make sure we have vehicles for use. We can see if we have to scale that back at a later time, but that's something we want to keep. We just bought the nice new bus.
Yeah.
We need it. We have Laura Mace, who's CDL certified. We need her in a pinch. We can use her with our bus. Some of that's the thought behind keeping at least a couple vehicles.
Makes sense.
What do we do with the money from the sale of our buses?
That'll be something the board gets to decide, whatever they
Whatever we want, there's no kind of, we have to use it in a certain area,
We
like the
get,
cafeteria.
nope, so this can be used in any fashion,
No, I mean, the cafeteria money, we have to use.
No,
the
I thought you were like,
cafeteria.
spend it in the cafeteria,
The
wait a minute, what's the
cafeteria money,
connection?
we can't just use anywhere. So I
These
was wondering-
these are purchased with general funds, so we can use
It's a
them.
little slow in the uptake.
Use them as we see fit. That would be, if we use federal dollars, that would be a different story, but since we use general fund money to purchase all those are eligible for the board
I'm
to
not just,
Either mine.
use it in.
Just wait, we're not through with me yet.
Yep. So any questions, I guess, with transportation, like I said, I'll have the actual RFP on the work session for anybody to review and have any additional questions, but these are the highlights that are in that feature.
Good, any other thoughts or comments?
The only thing I would say is I give a lot of kudos to Laura Mace, who did an awful lot of research and work with Tom to be able to put this RFP